small fringe minority.
All right. What is it? Is it Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday night. It must be the Tuesday night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing out there? Good to see Rosie and Trudeau Survivor in the chat already. Good to see you guys. All right, let's get to the news, shall we? So what's on the menu tonight? We'll go through the menu quickly, and then we'll go back to the chat, and then we'll go through these stories in detail. So what do we got first? So former senior advisor to Anthony Fauci has been indicted for his role in the COVID-19 cover-up. So, yeah, this guy might throw Anthony Fauci under the bus. I mean, the thing about Fauci is he's got that pardon. Got that pardon from Joseph R. Biden. So, but will we hear some truth about Fauci from this guy? I don't know, but we're going to talk about it. Let's go to, what do we got next? We got a bit more on the Trump shooter. We're going to go through that and how insane the media is, quite frankly. New York, yeah, it's not working out well. The commie plan isn't working out that well. The communist revolution is not working out that well in New York City with their commie Mayor Zoran Mamdani. Should we call him Zoran Commie Donnie or Mom Connie? Mom Commie? I don't know. You guys can work something out. Yeah, budget crisis. Who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? Let's see. So here is Kelly DeRitter, conservative MP for Kitchener Center, and she's blowing the whistle. We've been waiting for somebody to tell us exactly what the Liberals are doing, what Carney's team is doing, this team to recruit opposition MPs, to bribe them. Let's be honest, what's happening, bribe them, right? So she's just stating this is what they're doing here, although I have to suspect there's more. We shall get into that. What do we got here? Yeah, Holly Doan from Blacklock's Reporter here has posted this about an eco news site, a climate news site, National Observer, and just how much insane amount of money they get. I thought we'd run that down a little bit, get into some details. Yeah, this new sovereign wealth fund. Carney's sovereign wealth fund, more like a sovereign debt fund. We're going to get into this. I mean, they talk about like Norway. Well, Norway had a bunch of surpluses, so they had all this money sitting around, and they said, well, we've got to invest this in something so we can make more money because that'll be good for Norway, right? That's not what's happening here. This is a sovereign debt fund. There's no surpluses, obviously, right? So, yeah, it's going to be printing money and or borrowing money, and it's going to be borrowing money, 25 billion worth, and putting it into what looks like it's probably going to be just a liberal slush fund. Good luck. They're saying you can invest in it too. It's just a private citizen. You can invest in Mark Carney's liberal slush fund. Good luck with that. We've got Pierre Poilievre here. We've got Pierre Poilievre here, leader of the opposition in Canada, and he's really burning the Liberals here in Parliament, and I think it's absolutely worth seeing. And then we have our last bookmark, which, whoa, what the hell is that? For one thing, well, that Keith Richards looks terrible now, and Michael Jackson's still alive. What? Oh, wait a second. These are actresses. Who's that? That's Olivia Wilde and Angelina Jolie. Good Lord. Good Lord. Okay. I guess we'll take a look at that. Jeez, sad. I got Bongino here. We got a bunch of stuff. Stuff you guys sent in. Should be good fun. All right. Crazy stuff. Look what Granny knitted. Nice. That's good. That's a cool Granny. Yeah, we got lots of fun. Lots of good stuff. So, before we go back to the chat, I want to say to anybody watching on YouTube right now, please go and subscribe to the new channel, Radio Baloney News. This is where all the clip videos go. I take the best clips from my live streams, and I clean them up all nice and tidy and I put them on Radio Baloney News. It's about 7 months old. It was going great, moving rapidly towards monetization, and suddenly YouTube decided that nobody's allowed to see my videos anymore. So I guess it's up to you guys. Go and help me out. Subscribe there. See all the clip videos. There's like almost 300 videos there already. It's about 7 months old, this channel. I need your help. Please go do that. Thank you very much. And I guess that's it. And let's get back to the Weather Channel. Where's my back scratcher? I got an itch. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is why you guys show up. This is why you come for the news, but you stay for the back scratching. There we go. Done. Much better now. And also you also stay for the sips of ranch juice as well. Let's try that out. Good ranch juice. All right. Everybody knows that we're streaming on Rumble first and foremost, and then YouTube and X and locals as well. And when you like the stream, you get good karma. But when you're early, you get extra. So let's see what's going on here. Rosie, how you doing, Rosie's got 1-1. Now, is that Roman numerals or 11? I dropped out of the Leering Center, so I've got no idea. I guess we'll go with 11. I guess. I don't know. World War 11. Let's see. What did she say? Well, I don't know. I don't even know anymore. You get 60 good karma. 60 good karma. I'm just going with that. And as I said, I don't leer so good. Judo Survivor got square. So I'll take that as a 2. So that's 5 good karmas. Boom. So many good karmas. Let's see. All right. Trudeau Survivor says the semi truck driver who killed 16 people in Humboldt was supposed to be deported on Monday, but some woke judge in Quebec prevented the deportation order. I think even a lot of Canadians don't know that judges are giving criminal aliens, like people who are here, judges are giving immigrants lighter sentences so it won't affect their immigration status. So people who've broken the law, we're talking like sexual assault, all kinds of things, right? And they're intentionally giving them lighter sentences so that it won't affect their immigration status. It's totally mad. Yeah, why is that? Why does Canada need that guy? Well, we don't, obviously. Izzy says, like number 3, that's 4 good karmas for you. 4! So happy. The joy. I wish I could see your face right now. Let's see. Izzy says, Granny is amazing. How you doing, Izzy? Let's see. All right. Izzy says, deport the judges too. What is with these judges? Are these judges all commies? Are they commies? I don't know. Are they commies?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Commies? Are these judges all commies? I ask you.
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
It really is. It really is. Why do we need it? Like, I don't know. How does that enrich society? Have the guy who killed 16 people, young hockey players, by the way. We have to allow him to further enrich Canada. I don't get it. I don't, because I'm not a dirty, filthy, lying commie. That's why. All right. Should we just get to the stories? Should we just get to our stories tonight? Let's do it. Let's get to our stories. What do we got? So let's take a look. Nick Sortor posted this, and one of Anthony Fauci's advisors has been indicted for his role in the cover-up. Well, the conspiracy to convince people that the COVID-19 virus didn't come out of the Wuhan lab, because that would have connected everything to Anthony Fauci and the gain of function, so they didn't want people to know about that. David Morenz and his co-conspirators falsified records to suppress the lab leak theory. Well, let's take a look.
Former top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci now facing criminal charges. This over an alleged cover-up involving research into the origins of COVID. Rich Edson on this story. Intriguing, Rich. What you find out there in Washington?
Now, it is, Bill. The Justice Department has charged David Morans, a doctor, with conspiracy, claiming he concealed federal records to counter evidence that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab in China, all to help restore a controversial coronavirus grant. Morans, a former aide to Dr. Anthony Fauci, testified before the House's COVID Select Subcommittee nearly 2 years ago about emails he'd sent in February 2021, claiming that he'd learned to make emails disappear after he received Freedom of Information Act requests.
Ever delete or attempt to delete a federal record?
No, but let me explain why. When I came there in 1998, we were instructed to delete emails or to move them into PST files frequently because they jammed the computer.
The Justice Department says Morans used his personal Gmail account to exchange non-public information. The indictment also claims...
Yeah, that sounds like a load of bull to me. But let's continue.
An unnamed co-conspirator gave Morans wine for his, quote, behind-the-scenes shenanigans, then suggested he could push scientific commentary in a prominent medical journal advocating that COVID-19 had natural origins. That's a competing claim with the lab leak theory. The indictment says the co-conspirator could also provide meals at top restaurants in Paris, New York, and Washington, D.C. In April 2020, the NIH terminated that back coronavirus grant awarded to EcoHealth Alliance, who then contracted the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct that research in China. From the start of the pandemic, its president, Peter Daszak, worked to discredit any theory that COVID-19 had leaked from that lab.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Rich. More to come. Rich Edson on that.
Well, if we've learned anything from all of that, I hope that at least if we've learned anything from that experience, I hope one of the things anyway is that stop messing with bats. Just stop messing with bats. Leave them alone. Stay away. You know what the do you know what the major lesson should have been from all of that? Just stay away from bats. There should be an order, a global order. Nobody goes near any bat ever on penalty of like execution. Nobody is allowed to have bats, pet bats, go near bats. If you see a bat, you have to shoot it immediately, whatever. Everybody should be equipped with like some sort of bat gun. And scientists definitely stay the hell away from the bats. The government shouldn't be giving money to scientists to mess around with bats. No more bats. And actually, let's throw the pangolins in there as well, just to be safe. All right. Or just any animal. How about that? Let's just stop all of it. All right. So CBS News here, ex-advisor at Fauci's NIAID indicted for allegedly attempting to hide records during the pandemic. Well, let's see. David Morans, 78, was indicted by a federal grand jury earlier this month and charged with 5 counts, including conspiracy, destruction of records in federal investigations, and concealment of records. He made his initial appearance before a federal magistrate judge Monday and is set to be arraigned next week. So 5 counts, including conspiracy. Well, who's a conspiracy theorist now, huh? CNN? Morans served as a senior advisor to NIAID's Office of the Director from 2006 through 2022. And let's not forget, in fact, there's something I didn't bring up, but it just occurred to me now. Everybody starts your PhD thesis right now in your epic poetry. Let's see. CNN. Hold on. This will be just 2 seconds. Here we go. So, do you remember all of this? Here's CNN Health. Lab leak COVID-19 theory is like something out of a comic book, virologist says. March 31st, 2021. Remember all of this? There was a big effort to convince everybody that, it had nothing to do with that bat virus lab in Wuhan that's studying exactly this stuff. Yeah, anyway. Oh, hold on. Yeah, anyway. So this guy served as senior advisor to NIAID's Office of the Director From 2006 through 2022, Dr. Anthony Fauci led the institute for nearly 40 years. So that was Fauci, advisor to Fauci. Prosecutors alleged that Morenz had two unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators. Prosecutors alleged that Morenz and two unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators worked together to defraud the U.S. by shielding federal records related to the pandemic from the public. The first co-conspirator, identified as co-conspirator 1, served as the president and CEO of a New York-based nonprofit group that received a grant in 2014 titled Understanding the Risk. I mean, you can't make it up. The risk of bat coronavirus emergence. So, shielding federal records related to the pandemic from the public. So it was really people like, oh, I don't know, CNN that should have been digging into this stuff. Instead, we just got this. You're a conspiracy theorist. This is like something out of a comic book. That's what people got. Huh. And they wonder why mainstream media is dying. The Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, received a sub-award from the New York Organization on the Coronavirus Grant. Prosecutor said emails released in 2024 by the Republican-led Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic indicate that the New York-based organization is the Eco Health Alliance, and co-conspirator 1 is its president, Peter Daszak. Remember that name. All right, now, Anthony Fauci. Fauci denies, this is from June 3rd, 2024. Fauci denies suppressing COVID lab leak theory before U.S. House panel. So we know that they were exchanging emails back and forth. He was advising people like Morenz to deny lab leak to protect himself because they were funding. They were funding that lab in Wuhan. We know all of that now, right? Did I have something in here? The committee set up to discover the origins of the virus has uncovered emails showing top NIH officials trying to hide public records by evading Freedom of Information Act requests, or, like as that guy said, making emails disappear. The private emails suggest some officials, including a longtime Fauci advisor and aide, deleted correspondence and used private emails to get around public record laws. Public record laws. Fauci downplayed how closely he worked with the advisor, David Morenz, saying he was unsure if Morenz even reported to him directly and that their offices were in different buildings. Wow. I mean, Carney, as soon as I see the word lie, I think Mark Carney. Sorry, Fauci. There's other liars too. I mean, what a dishonest man. I mean, just shameless. Denied ever using a private email address to discuss government business. Morenz had told the subcommittee he may have sent emails discussing government business to Fauci's personal email address. I wonder if he did. I guess that's where, let's see, this pardon, executive grant of clemency, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, for Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony S. Fauci. So I guess this really does come in handy for somebody like Fauci, who's just guilty, right? Just guilty. But he's got this, so he's all right. What do we have here? So here's from a Committee on Oversight. Hearing wrap-up, Dr. Fauci held publicly accountable by Select Subcommittee. Let's see. Dr. Fauci confirmed that his senior advisor, Dr. David Morenz, violated official NIH policies and potentially broke federal law. This was from June 4th, 2024. Let's see. Unlawfully deleted federal COVID-19 records. I mean, that's super illegal, right? And shared non-public information about National Institutes of Health grant processes with his best friend, Eco Health Alliance Incorporated, EcoHealth President Dr. Peter Daszak. His name keeps popping up too. Dr. Fauci maintained his misleading claim that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China. In 2021, he told Rand Paul that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. During yesterday's hearing, Dr. Fauci doubled down on his previous claim by stating the NIH did not fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Notably, former acting NIH director Dr. Lawrence Tabak told the Select Committee recently that the NIH did, in fact, gain-of-function research in Wuhan. Yeah. You've never seen anybody as slippery as Fauci was in that. Dr. Fauci agreed with the Select Subcommittee that EcoHealth and its president, Dr. Peter Daszak, should never again receive a single cent from the U.S. taxpayer. So it wasn't all above board. Then let's see. Dr. Fauci corrected his previous testimony that his staff did not possess conflicts of interest. During yesterday's hearing, he changed his tune, testifying that Dr. Morenz definitely had a conflict of interest. Dr. Fauci publicly acknowledged that the lab leak hypothesis was possible and not a conspiracy theory. This comes nearly 4 years after prompting the publication of the now infamous proximal origin paper that attempted to vilify and disprove the lab leak hypothesis because of his connections to it, obviously. All right. So let's go back here. What do we have? Hold on. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. I think that's actually it. But let me find where we were. Hold on. All right. So, David Morenz does not have a pardon from Biden. So that's why they're going after him. And I think what will be really interesting is finding out what was in all of those emails. You know, all of the communications. You know, how much did they erase? Like illegally erase? I guess we'll find out. But, you know, there are going to be people that are going to be a lot of people were like kicked off social media, you know, people who were relying on that income to live. You know, a lot of people for saying things like, hey, what about this lab down in Wuhan there where they're studying the bat coronaviruses? I mean, it seems like kind of a coincidence, right? A lot of people were punished, seriously punished for that, just for saying, hey, this looks totally plausible. So it's taken a long time, but we'll find out what happens with this. All right. Probably nobody will be satisfied with it in the end. All right. So now what's going on? What are you guys talking about? Report to judges too. Granny's amazing. Let's see. Denny, how you doing? Good to see ya. Happy Tuesday. Now, if anybody gets tired today, it's Tuesday, so we're allowed to get that little energy boost. You know what I'm talking about. A bit of that they-them energy. So if we start getting tired, don't be shy. You throw it right in the chat there. We can get started with that. We'll give you that boost that only the they-them energy can give you. All right. If I could only bottle that stuff, I tell you. I wouldn't be a millionaire. I'd be a centenaire, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, dollar-an-aire. Let's see. Rosie says, I was attacked on Facebook when I called it the China virus, the China, because it's from China. I mean, what a mad time. What a mad time that was. I mean, hold on. Do you remember this? Do we all remember this? Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Remember this? Chinese virus. So the China virus is a racist take. Remember that you're racist if you said China virus. China, like West Nile was okay, right? You know, I think Ebola is from like a region called Ebola in Africa, right? That was all okay. But for some reason, I mean, it's weird. Weird. It's like trying to protect the Chinese Communist Party. Weird. Izzy says, stop making bioweapons. Thought that was already the law. Well, yeah, see, so they kind of went around the law to do it. That's why they were doing it in China. And that's why they had all those labs in Ukraine as well. Which is maybe another reason why Fauci needed that pardon. Let's see. Rosie says, so we're no longer allowed to buy bats to eat at wet markets in China? Who does that? No, we're not. I can't buy. I mean, I go to the local wet markets in my town, and, you can't even get bats there anymore. It's really a shame. It's just pangolins, mostly pangolins now, let's see. Izzy says, think all those monsters should be volunteered for medical experiments. How about mandated? Something requiring the vocal cords. Oh, jeez. I can't read that. Let's see. Rosie says, it is astounding the scope of the fraud and criminality. Yes, it always is. Something we hear a lot these days. Let's see. Nevada's saying, I'm fixing my supper. Be right back. Well, we won't mention anything about bat soup. Let's see. Rosie says, I guess Co-Conspirator 1 was not loved by parents. What a name for a baby. Kind of prophetic. Yeah, that's a terrible name for a baby. Co-Conspirator 1. So I guess maybe the next child was Co-Conspirator 2 and then so on. I don't know. Terrible baby name, though. Let's see. Trudeau's Fiver says the MSM pushed the idea that calling it the China virus, China, because it's from China, was racist, and the sheeple went along with it. Just ignore all the viruses named after other places. Spanish flu, Lyme disease, Ebola, Zika. Yep. They just didn't want people thinking about the virus at all. Is that what it was? They just didn't want people even thinking about the narrative around it at all, or the virus at all. Just do what you're fucking told. Rosie says, the sheeple were surprising. I never dreamed these people I had known all my life would post scathing, hate-filled words to shame me. It did not work. It just revealed there will, Look, it was shocking. I was shocked. And I'm very sorry to hear that happened to you. But I was shocked at the public's reaction. I mean, some people always just, they just want the boot on their face. Like, they want to be dominated by the state and oppressed by the state. I was shocked that it was the majority of Canadians were like, nope, we prefer privileges. We don't want rights anymore. Privileges are great because, if you do what you're told, you can go to a movie or go for dinner or travel on a plane or a train. And then some people can't. The people who didn't do what they were told can't. And that means we're better than them because we get to do something they can't do. This privileges thing is great. I mean, they'd never take it away from me because I'll always do what I'm told. I was shocked by it. I was shocked. And just, the hatred and vitriol. I mean, even on the front page of the Toronto Star, they posted these hate-filled diatribes from their readers. My God, it was unbelievable. I was shocked. I did not think that I lived in that country. And now after the last election, I will never overestimate the Canadian electorate ever again. Or I should say, like, at least 50% of it. As he says, weak minds easily controlled by fear. Sadly, the majority of people suffer. Yep. Spambot says you can do all they, them shit you like tonight. I'm going to bed. You can do all the you can do all the they, them shit you like tonight. I'm going to bed, Spambot Fodder says. Okay. Now, to be fair to Spam, he's working like day, like, I don't know, like 17 of like 45 continuous days. He has to work like 15-hour shifts. So, you know, like, I think it's fair. Let's see. Oh, Spambot says dropping like number 5 before I go. So that's but 2 good karmas. Boom. Let's see. Rosie says, can you spell perjury? Can you spell treason? She says, I can. We'll have to see if that guy can. Let's see. Izzy says, I lost connections with family and friends over that BS. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very common story. Yeah, I mean, it was shocking how quickly you discovered what was lurking underneath the smiles, right? Let's see. Rosie says, just prove fraudulent ballots and election interference, vacate the 2020 election, canceling the pardons. That's all you got to do. Rosie says, I lost people too. All right. Let's get on to the next thing. And let's get rid of some of these because we don't need them anymore. We've already been through it. What are we, 32 minutes in? We're doing real good. Real good. Okay. What do we got next? What's this? All right, let's go through some new stuff on this Trump shooter. Here's Breitbart News. Here's Levitt. What the hell is her name again? Something Levitt? Catherine Levitt. What the hell is her name? God damn it. I forget. All right. Anyway, so here's the press secretary with the receipts. Carolyn Levitt. That's what it is. Oh,
I ain't got a good brain.
What I find is that there's too many names. So that's the problem that I have. If there was like 5 names, I'd be fine, right? I would never forget. But there's more than 5. There's, in fact, way more than that. There's too many names. We got to do something about that. All right, Breitbart News. Here's the press secretary with the receipts. All the vile things Democrats have said to inspire violence. And yeah, I mean, it's not really a mystery why leftists keep trying to kill Trump. And then also they're literally killing other people like Charlie Kirk. They just, the Luigi Mangione just murdered a man, shot a man in the back, murdered him on the street because he worked for a insurance company. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not a giant mystery where this comes from. If you tell people that, hey, that guy is literally Hitler, and you're living in a literal fascist state right now, right? And of course, the person hearing this has to be totally historically illiterate and not particularly bright, okay, for this to work. But there's a lot of people. So there are people going to hear this. Oh, he's actually literally Hitler? I heard that Hitler guy was bad or something, really bad, right? Yeah, it's going to work. When you've got enough people, it's going to work. Let's watch.
Unfortunately, it's not just the media. It is the entire Democrat Party has made their pitch to voters across the country that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to democracy, that he is a fascist, and that they compare him to Hitler. I mean, these are despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years. And so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to act on it. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month said, We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time. Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll within the administration. Senator Alex Padilla said people are, quote, dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration. Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey calling President Trump a dictator, saying that this administration's actions are authoritarianism on steroids. Governor J.B. Pritzker, never before in my life have I called for mass protest disruptions. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. You have Rep. Presley saying, we'll see you in the streets. Rep. Monica McIver, a Democrat representative on Capitol Hill, we will not take this shit from Donald Trump. He thinks he's a dictator. We are at war. These are Democrat elected officials calling for war against the president of the United States and his supporters.
And like a true dictator, Trump's dealing with all of his opposition brutally in the courts with judges and stuff, like it's supposed to be done, right? So yeah. I get the rhetoric is insane. In fact, it's like revolutionary rhetoric, right? I guess they're just feeling that coming up from their base there, that the universities have been turning out a new revolutionary red guard every year for decades, and I guess they're having to echo it. They want the revolutionary communist vote. They want a monopoly on that. I think they've got it, matter of fact. Why do these things keep happening? Why does it keep happening? Here's Matt Walsh. So he's talking about the idea that it was a hoax or that it was staged, which I do not believe it was staged. It doesn't make any sense. But here Matt Walsh explains it. I'm officially convinced it was a hoax. The Trump administration recruited a leftist Kamala Harris voting Trump hater to participate in a staged assassination that would include the shooter getting shot at, and then locked in federal prison for the rest of his life. Seems like kind of a raw deal, huh? The Kamala Harris voter agreed to this plan that works against his political and personal interests because he's just like a really generous guy. Meanwhile, the Trump administration, despite dastardly planning multiple assassination hoaxes, decided to keep their patsy alive and a permanent liability to them, rather than just killing him like they could have easily done. They did this because they are also really strangely generous in a very odd and specific way. So in summary, we have a plot where all parties involved are working against their own interests with no real discernible benefit to any of them. There is no evidence of this plan, and it doesn't even make any intuitive sense, and the motives for everyone are unclear, if not insane. But I still believe it because I'm a very smart person. So I agree with this. I mean, there's one thing for sure that tells you this was not staged, it was not a hoax, is that the shooter's alive. Like, you wouldn't let him live. Like that if the administration is so evil and Machiavellian, they're not letting him live. So just on that alone, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Let's see. Here's Jimmy Kimmel defending his joke about Melania's soon-to-be widow. Let's hear it. Let's hear his justification.
So on Thursday, 3 days before the event, in order to keep that cherished tradition alive, I did my own version of the Correspondents' Dinner on my show. I put on a tuxedo. We pretended we had an audience of luminaries. We used old footage of the Trumps, of Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Kid Rock, Vanilla Ice, all the members of his cabinet. And we made it seem like they were all together in a room. We had a little roast. Again, this was Thursday, and there was no big reaction to it until this morning when I greeted the day facing yet another Twitter vomit storm. And a call to fire me from our First Lady, Melania Trump, saying I should be fired because of a joke I made, again, 5 nights ago, It was a pretend roast. I said, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at her, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow, which obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every.
So there's an applause sign that goes up when he tells a joke. So the audience knows when they're supposed to laugh. So like when there's a joke, they need that applause sign so that they know when he's made a joke, right? But I wonder if any of them, when the sign goes on and they start pretending to laugh and clapping, go, I don't know. I don't know what they like. That's just another guy tried to kill him. Like maybe this is getting out of hand. Maybe it's not that funny.
Time they're together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. It was not by any stretch of the definition a call to assassination. And they know that. I've been very vocal for many years speaking out against gun violence.
Geez, I wonder if context means anything. I don't know. I guess not.
In particular, but I understand that the First Lady had a stressful experience over the weekend, and probably every weekend is pretty stressful in that house. And also, I agree that hateful,
or maybe being attacked by the media constantly. Maybe that too.
And violent rhetoric is something we should reject. I do, and I think a great place to start to dial that back would be to have a conversation with your husband about it, because
yeah, that's right. That's right. Because all the Trump supporters are out trying to assassinate everyone. Yeah, sure. It's all coming from the left. Now, an obvious point is that if Trump were really a dictator, as they all seem to think that he is, that Jimmy Kimmel would not have a late night show. He'd be in a camp, because that's what dictators do, right? It wouldn't just be complaining on the internet that he's not funny and his ratings are terrible, so they should fire him. That like an actual dictator would go way further than that, right? He wouldn't be allowed to do this at all, period, right? Like he'd go to a camp, he'd go to a prison, right? So the whole thing is obviously, the whole media narrative that's been drawn by people like Jimmy Kimmel is so insane and frankly, again, just historically illiterate. They have literally no idea what they're talking about. Personally, I don't think that obviously he should be able to do that. If somebody's willing to pay him to make his jokes, he should be able to do that, right? It's just, why? I mean, his show loses money. It's not profitable for the network. So what is the purpose? What do they get out of it? They lose half the country. For what? For Jimmy Kimmel? So that Jimmy Kimmel won't say that they're, fascists too? I mean, the word fascist doesn't mean anything anymore anyway, so it shouldn't matter to anybody ever being called that by people like Jimmy Kimmel. Like, what? Like, couldn't they just, I mean, it's not like just, it's not like everybody has a right to have like a network talk show, right? Like, if you're bad at it, like, they should be allowed to replace you, right? Like, should there be a law that like you could just like a homeless guy could walk off the street and get his own show, a homeless guy can walk in off the street and get his own show and then spend, an hour, telling everybody what the demons are telling him? I mean, like, if you've got an unprofitable product that people don't like, or not enough people like it, right? Like Jimmy Kimmel, like, it's not a tragedy if they just say, yeah, this isn't working out. Yeah, we thought it was a good idea at first. It's not working out, I'm afraid. Not enough people are watching. We can't sell enough advertising. It's too expensive. Yeah, so anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Let's see. I don't think we need to see that again. Here's Carolyn Levitt again here and talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Let's take a look.
Much of the manifesto of the would-be assassin is indistinguishable from the words that we hear daily from so many. For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you.
Well, also, too, like, they keep trying to kill him. right? Like that doesn't that context mean anything to these people? Apparently not. I mean, we know what they hope for. They would all celebrate. I mean, at least privately celebrate if any of them actually succeeded.
That she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the first lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night. As President Trump said on Saturday night at this podium, we as Americans must recommit ourselves to resolving our differences peacefully and uniting around the shared values that make our country great. The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things, and they are inspired to commit violence because of those words. It has to stop.
Yeah, but obviously it won't. I mean, we know that now. Like, they're not going to stop, period, right? I mean, compilation of unhinged leftists having mental breakdowns after another left-wing assassin failed to murder the president. Like, imagine faking your own attempt for the third time. I mean, this is just brain dead. That's just idea pathogen. What's this guy saying?
I go to bed each night hoping by the time I get up in the morning, he has died.
See, this isn't normal. That's not normal. That's not healthy, right? Like, this is the idea pathogen. This is the woke mind virus. Once your brain is infected and parasitized by the woke mind virus, you turn into this. Like, whatever you were before, that's of secondary importance now. Now, once you've got the idea pathogen in your brain, now it's about spreading it to other, soft-brained people. And that's it. That's the most important thing. Like, eating, sleeping comes second. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a minute. Let's see. Brian Lynch, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. All right. What do we got? Hold on. Izzy says, good thing my satire detector is still working. I almost thought Walsh went mad. Yes. Let's see. Izzy says, clapping seals, talking about Jimmy Kimmel's audience. Yeah. Rosie says, Richie, thank you for always announcing the name of the person on screen. You help me remember who it is. For those who are new to the channel, Rosie has face blindness, so she's not kidding, right? Let's see. JJ Nevada says Bosnia. The weather in Bosnia is great. Great. Romania is good, though, doing the jumping jacks there. Love it. All right. We're going to have to leave the hot lady weather report and go to our next story. What do we have? Yes, so the warmth of collectivism update from Breitbart News here. Mayor Zoran Mamdani declares a budget crisis. Who could have guessed that the communist mayor of New York would lead them to a budget crisis? Who could have guessed? Aren't they always great with money, with finances? Commies, aren't they? Oh, yeah, never. They never are. Let's see, which is why so many people starve to death. Anyway, let's watch.
New York City faces a budget crisis of a historic magnitude. We inherited a deficit larger than any since the Great Recession. Years of mismanagement and chronic under-budgeting, alongside a structural imbalance between what New York City sends to the state and what we receive in return, have taken
been a long stretch of lefties running New York, hasn't it? Long stretch.
A toll. We cannot close this deficit with savings alone. We need new revenue, and we need a structural reset in our relationship with the state. That is the only way to meet our legal obligation to pass a balanced budget.
Or you can cut spending, but he's not going to do that.
And to do so without imposing a financial burden onto the backs of working people. I'm glad to partner with Speaker Menon as we call upon Albany and deliver a balanced budget. Together, we are extending the executive budget deadline from this coming Friday until May 12th, because a crisis of this scale cannot be solved without state action.
What about, What about like not giving benefits to all of the people that are in your city illegally? How about that one? I don't think he's going to do that either.
I want to be clear. We are not simply asking others to act. New York City is doing our part. We are committed to governing with the fiscal responsibility this moment demands. Speaker Menon,
with the fiscal responsibility that communists always demand.
and I have already identified meaningful savings, and we will continue that work carefully, deliberately, and without cutting the services that New Yorkers rely on. But we cannot do it alone. That is why we are standing together this morning to underscore what is at stake and to call on Albany to deliver additional revenue.
Yeah. What was that about running out of other people's money? You know what the problem is? He hasn't seized the means of production fast enough. That's it. Once he does that, it's I'm sure it'll be smooth sailing for New York City. All right. Anything else here? Let's see. Oh yeah, he's building a 30 million city-owned grocery store in Harlem next year. Let's see. New York City is New York City is time for a grand experiment once again. What is he saying here?
New York City, it is time for a grand experiment once again.
Actually, you can't afford it, so just cut it. That would be the same thing to do. But the whole commie thing. It's a problem. Let's see. He budgeted $70 million for 5 grocery stores, but the first one alone will cost $30 million. Yeah, just cut that. Like, start there. Stop giving benefits to people who are in your city illegally, that sort of thing. Not going to do it, though. That's not the commie way. All right. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Let's take a quick peek. Nevada says, in other words, we're going to have to take more of your money. Exactly. Congrats, New York. Enjoy it. Enjoy the good times. What do we have here? So in Canada, Mark Carney gained a majority government by essentially just bribing opposition MPs, both Conservative and NDP, to just cross the floor, betray the people who volunteered for them, who donated to them, who volunteered for them, donated to them, and ultimately voted for them, betray all those people and cross the floor for personal gain. So we know that politics is full of scoundrels, right? But I mean, I'm not one of those people who thinks they're all, or even, most of them are, but we know that they're in there. Scoundrels are drawn to politics. And we're seeing it. And, but never before has a government gotten a majority through floor crossers in Canadian history. Right? This is dirty as hell. And to have 5 within months of each other, that's never been seen. Maybe like 1917. But in any case, this Conservative MP, Kelly DeRitter, blows a whistle on it. Let's hear what they're doing. And I don't think this encompasses everything that they're doing either, but let's take a listen.
I've ever seen before. A government trying to convince sitting MPs to switch sides just to build themselves a majority. I know because I was approached by them, because it happened directly to me. I can say plainly what that looked like. First, it was pressure. I was told a candidate would be run in Kitchener Centre with support from both the Liberals and the Greens, and that I wouldn't stand a chance as a Conservative. You know what? I'm going to leave that up to the voter. When that didn't work, it turned into compliments. I was told they'd be watching my work on committees, especially on AI and digital policy, and that there could be a spot for me on their team. When that didn't land either, it became about benefits. I was told switching sides would be very good for my riding, giving Kitchener Centre's role as Canada's innovation capital. Let me be clear. I am not turning my back on the people who elected me, and I am not going to help any government build power through backroom conversations.
Yeah, this is turning into Banana Republic stuff. It is. There have been floor crossings in the past, but they were rare. I believe the last one previous to this was like 2017, something like that. We've never seen it like this. Certainly, we've never had a government gain a majority by floor crossers. We've never seen 5 crossing over in the course of months. This is third world stuff. This is banana republic stuff. It's obviously corrupt. Canada has changed. Once Justin Trudeau was elected in 2015, he remade the Liberal Party into his own radical progressive image. And the country and Canada itself has been transformed into that grotesque image as well. And it is not the same country anymore. And we're seeing it in literally in every institution, in politics and everything, and to the point here where the Liberals, and they've admitted it, like they have a team that is trying to lure rats across the aisle, like amoral people, right? Bad people, scoundrels, into the Liberal Party for power, to have the ultimate power, a majority government, which means they can force through anything they want. And that means Mark Carney can force through anything that he wants, right? Can pass budgets. He's free to max out the national credit card now. Like, this is a level of dirtiness and a dirty business that we actually haven't seen before in Canada. This is a level of corruption, like moral corruption. Like, there used to be something called shame in society. It would have been shameful to do. For these 5, it would have been shameful for them, right? Obviously not having, gone through a long politically transformational period and changed their mind. And people do that. And that's why you saw it happen occasionally in the past, not en masse. And not like, less than a year after an election. So something is rotten in Canada. Canada's been remade into Justin Trudeau's image. And now it's in Mark Carney's image, who was really Justin Trudeau's protege anyway. So really, it was always Mark Carney's image. I think going all the way back to 2015. So here we have it. And this is just in the media in Canada. This is just fine, right? What do we hear? What do we hear from the media? Hold on one second. I've got to check something out here very quickly. Carney won majority. Hold on. Here we go from the CBC. What is it? Here we go. The CBC. For, what is it? $1.5 billion a year now? Carney clinches a majority government with 3 Liberal by-election wins. That's not what happened. They were all Liberal seats before. It was the floor crossers. This headline should be, Carney clinches a majority government with corruption by bribing opposition MPs to join his party. People who, the day before were saying they had absolutely nothing in common with the Liberal Party and, in fact, despised their policies, who all of a sudden the next day are just proud liberals. This is what we get. This is what we get. This is state media, folks, right here. Carney clinches a majority government with 3 Liberal by-election wins. That's a lie. That's a lie, and everybody knows it. But they're earning their money, right? They're earning their money for the paymaster, the man who gave them who promised to give them $150 million raise during the election. Of course, that would only happen if you won. I mean, how is that legal? Again, banana republic stuff. That's what Canada has become. Just open and obvious corruption everywhere. We're looking like a failed state at this point. You wonder how those people who write those headlines can sleep at night, but I'm sure they're all ideologically captured, so they're just fine with it. Josh DeHaas, there are offers on the table ranging from committee appointments to hints of a cabinet post and even an offer of a judicial appointment. This is from an article from Brian Lilly. I mean, it's dirty as can be. Even if that's not strictly illegal, which it should be. It sounds like it should be illegal. Even if it weren't, it's totally morally abhorrent. Again, totally betraying all the people who volunteered, donated, and ultimately voted for these people, totally betraying them. That would have been seen in the media by the public as a shameful thing, especially when it was coordinated like this to gain a majority government. That would have been seen as deeply dishonorable. Now, Canada was remade into the image of Justin Trudeau. So, as long as it's left, as long as it helps radical progressivism, it's fine. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a second. What are you guys talking about? We an hour into this already? Good Lord. Good Lord. Canuck Six Trigger, how you doing? Good to see you. As he says, I can't wait for my government-approved list of food I can pick up at the government store once they get it in stock. Well, Evie Lewis, the NDP, has got the, he wants to do what Mom Donnie's doing. He wants a bunch of government, he wants bread lines. That's what he wants. Izzy says, hope I get bananas and rice this week. You'd be lucky. Maybe you got a loaf of bread made out of shredded Chinese newspapers. Izzy says, useful idiots like good hair and teeth. Yes, they do. The thing that I find hilarious still is that they keep telling us that, hold on a second. Let me just pull this up. I really should do all this before I start, shouldn't I? Oh, hold on. All right, hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh, God damn it. All right, here we go. Hold on. Yeah, I love it. We keep hearing that Mark Carney is as handsome. He's the George Clooney of finance. This hobgoblin? Really? The George Clooney of finance. They keep trying to push this stuff on us. I mean, they think that we're actual idiots. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we did see the last election, right? So we saw what happened there. So I don't know. I guess they're maybe not entirely wrong. That's the Mark Carney of international finance. Oh, that's the Clooney of international finance. Sure he is. Hobgoblin, I say, hobgoblin. All right. Let's see. Izzy says, floor crossings was always slimy, never just this obvious, should be a by-election. Look, I can understand, like, people do change. You don't get 5 all changing within a few months of each other. That's bullshit. I mean, you could have somebody who sincerely has a change of heart. Their politics changed. Look, my politics changed. All right. But you don't get it like this, like so quickly, and also like timed, like perfect timing to maximally hurt Pierre Poilievre, like right before the leadership convention, for instance. No, the whole thing is gross. And in the past, a government wouldn't have tried that because it would have reflected so poorly on them. But now Carney's got that media machine saying everything's great. It's awesome. Awesome. This is a great thing. This is how democracy works. As he says, this is criminal. It's gone beyond dishonorable. Well, what I want to know is, hold on. So what I want to know is liberal floor crossers. Let's go down and see if like this guy here, like this slime ball here, Chris D'Entremont. What I want to know is Mark Carney, he bragged during the election about all of his connections and all the companies connected to it, all his global connections. In 2030, we're going to find out that Chris D'Entremont and Matt Genero and the rest of them, Michael Maud, that they've got cushy jobs at, some net zero company, some nice 6-figure job or 7-figure job at some net zero company. Are we going to find out? Because Mark Carney has a lot of influence. He has a lot of people in the net zero business who have him to thank for a lot of subsidies and money and a lot of wealth. Are we going to find out these people all took nice cushy jobs that are, that can be connected to Mark Carney? Is it going to be 6 degrees of Mark Carney? we're going to be playing. I mean, the mainstream media, or most of them, maybe somebody from the National Post, maybe the Sun, the Toronto Sun might dig into it. But the rest of the mainstream media is not going to be interested. It'll have to be an independent journalist that does it. That's the state of journalism now in Canada. I mean, maybe it's actually better this way. I don't know. But in any case, yeah, let's move on. What do we got now? So, Holly Doan from Blacklock's Reporter here is talking about, here she's got an article about the National Observer, which is funded by the government. Now, the Canadian government spends enormous amounts of money funding media, and it's actually hard to figure out how much because it's coming from so many different places. But hold on a second. Here we go. So Blacklock's Reporter, eco news site #1 in grants. So a Vancouver climate news site, the National Observer, is the nation's heaviest user of Department of Canadian Heritage grants. Newly disclosed records show. So it's an eco site. So that's right up Mark Carney's alley, right? Yeah, I really question the value and the wisdom of giving the government so much power over the media, like literally being their paymaster. So the #1 site in grants is an eco site, the National Observer, a climate news site. Mark Carney, right? Net zero, king of the planet. It almost seems like there could be some corruption here or some conflict of interest or something. I don't know. The Independent news site, really? Independent received more than $1.3 million in taxpayers' aid. How can any news site be independent when they're getting $1.3 million from the government? I mean, these things don't seem to work together, do they? That's to cover the equivalent of 23 employees' salaries, while its CEO served on a volunteer board responsible for approving grants. Oh, man, one big happy family. The National Observer record speaks for itself regarding our independence from any government, except for the $1.3 million in taxpayer aid. Aside from that, should we take a look? All right, what do we got? National Observer. Let's see. Surprise win for climate survival. Climate survival. Is that what we're calling it now? Alberta falls far short of expectations on methane regulations. Oh, dear. If Alberta refuses to introduce a credible methane reduction plan, then the federal regulation should stand. Well, there's a bunch of Brookfield companies that could help with that, I think, right? Right? Let's see. Real climate action requires immediate mandates with teeth. Better put some more taxes on and do some more, and subsidize some net zero stuff. Vancouver sound artist turns music, stories, and science into blueprint for living with nature. And it looks pretty calm there. So that's good. Good for him. The government probably gave him $1.3 million to make that recording, I'm guessing. Gas tax holiday gives drivers temporary relief, but an EV eliminates the root problem. See, just everything here is stuff that Mark Carney would love. Let's see. Avi Lewis, that's the leader of the NDP, the even further left party in Canada than the Liberals. Avi Lewis is smart to shed light on surveillance pricing. So any article, any headline that says Avi Lewis is smart, that has the name Avi Lewis and the word smart in it, unless there's a not in there as well, is just immediately discredits itself. So let's move on from that. Big tent politics is back in Canada, maybe better for it. So is this about the floor crossers who were like super fascist, far right loonies, like the day before they decided they wanted to be liberals? Is it about that? I don't know. trying to smooth that over for the Liberals. Let's see. Danielle Smith is already turning Alberta into America's 51st state. I mean, that's just total nonsense. Total nonsense. Let's say the $20 billion a year that they give to Ottawa, as it would say, they're probably. I mean, you want to know the real truth? You want to know the real truth? Canada is America's 51st state in terms of GDP per capita. Yeah. By the way, the independence movement is not interested in becoming the 51st state. That's just a lie that's being spread by, I guess, like Canada's National Observer here, right, with their headline. That's just not true. They want to be an independent country. That's what they want. Anything else is a lie. Let's see. Giving rights to nature. So this is all right up Mark Carney's alley, isn't it? Let's see. Let's see. All right. Eco News, the site, Eco News site #1 in grants. I wonder why. I thought I would just take a look at some other grants. Now, it's hard to find them all because they're all scattered in different parts of the government, this funding, but I just typed in journalism. This is the Government of Canada site, grants and contributions. And the first one that comes up, there's 4,452 records, by the way. First thing that comes up is Canadian News Media Association, $12.5 million, more than $12.5 million. Local Journalism Initiative, 2025 to 2027, $12 million. Who are they? News Media Canada, but that's who this is. News Media Canada is the voice of the print and digital media industry in Canada, representing hundreds of trusted titles in every province and territory. And hold on a second, though. Yeah, never mind. News Media Canada is an advocate. News Media Canada is an advocate in public policy for daily and community media outlets and contributes to the ongoing evolution of the news media industry by raising awareness and promoting the benefits of news media across all platforms. News Media Canada acts on behalf of its members in a proactive manner for the benefit of corporate news organizations as well as independently owned news outlets alike. Member services include educational webinars, legal resources, auditing services, regional seminars, newsletters, press release service, and award programs. But it sounds a lot like this is kind of a lobbying organization, lobbying the government, right? And is the voice of the print and digital media industry in Canada, representing hundreds of trusted titles in every province and territory. And this is the Canadian News Media Association. So they're funded by the government to represent all of this media. So kind of a middleman in between, right? Maybe like a lobbying organization. And it feels like there's maybe a bit of conflict of interest here, right? Because they appear to be funded. They're funded, to the tune of over $12.5 million by the government. It feels like there's kind of like something kind of dirty happening here, right? It feels like things are kind of rigged, doesn't it? Just a little bit. All right, let's let's see. All right, so that's it. Let's move on. Actually, let's go to the chat. Back to the chat for a second. I need some rant juice. I'm getting tired. All right. Brian Lynch says, I'm an old boomer and can rarely stay up to listen live. Great commentary and discourse. The level of absurdity nowadays is beyond my comprehension. Thank you, Richard. Well, thank you for coming and listening and being part of the chat, because that's the whole point of this show. But if you're tired, we might have a little something for you. Give you that little boost you might need into the next part of the show. I don't know, people. What do you think? Has everybody tried having a couple of coffees? couple of double espressos, having a bit of crack, some of that blue meth from Breaking Bad, chewing on, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 polar bear adrenal glands. Everybody tried that? I have. And you know what? Nothing. I got nothing. Nothing works. Nothing works. I mean, what could we possibly get after all of that? Where could we find the kind of energy that we need to continue with this show? I have no idea. I mean, I can't imagine where we would.
Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy.
And teapot. Oh, I'm jacked now. I'm jacked on that them energy, people. Oh, yeah. Still don't think they're sending their best representatives, though. I think they could sell it better, quite frankly. Powerful stuff, though. Powerful stuff. And confusing. Bewildering, actually. Powerfully confusing. Nevada says, stinking filthy gummies. As he says, tired on a Tuesday. I think we have something for that. And we did. Izzy says, blue meth sounds fun. Don't do the blue meth. Don't even watch Breaking Bad, Izzy, okay? Just stay away from that shit. You don't want that shit. Let's see. Rosie says, muting. And we did the chocolate last night, Rosie. We did the chocolate last night. You should be coming after me for chocolate. We did it last night. Oh, maybe later on. I don't know. Now I feel bad. Now I feel mean. Maybe we'll do some later on. Okay. She still looks like a minivan, Nevada said. But a they van or a them van. Sorry. Don't be a bigot, Nevada. A them van. Izzy says, yeah, Yuri warned us the media and schools were taken decades ago. Yeah, that's a generational problem now. Unfortunately. Like the teaching colleges have been just turning out like Red Guard. It's actually scary what's been happening. Nevada says we have the same problem here with the media. Well, I cover that as well. And yes, it's the same everywhere. They're all just interchangeable. Like you could take Jake Tapper and just put him on the CBC. Nobody would know any difference. You could take Rosemary Barton down and put her on MSNBC or MS Now, they call it now. And maybe she'd, have a little bit more freedom to be wrong about everything, but she'd fit in just fine. Say with the BBC, they're just all interchangeable. They're all the exact same thing with the same job. And it ain't informing you and being objective. That ain't their job anymore. Let's see. All right. Let's get to the next thing. What are we talking about now? All right. So hold on a second. I got a cough again. All right. Where do I want to start this? Hold on a second. Where do I want to start this? Where do we want to start? Let's see. Let's start with the food professor. PM Carney announced this morning the creation of Canada's first sovereign wealth fund, echoing models already in place at the provincial level. Reporters asked sharp, substantive questions, easily one of the best press conferences I've seen in years. Well, the thing is, he's got his majority now, so it doesn't matter. So now they can pretend to be journalists again. When pressed on why Canadians should care, especially as many struggle to pay for groceries, the Prime Minister suggested he doesn't expect everyone to understand or be concerned. He did call himself an elitist, a globalist elitist. So, you have to remember that. Let's see. Hold on a second. Where? So he's gonna tell us about his Canada Strong Fund. And of course, this is all at the very least very misleading. But Marty up north posted this. He says that, Mark Carney's Canada Strong Fund ad is peak Davos meets late night infomercial. All right, let's take a look.
This is our country. It's your future, and we're building it together. We're catalyzing a series of nation-building projects in energy, in trade, critical minerals, transport, data, and beyond. These projects will make Canada stronger, more resilient, and more independent.
Or they're all just going to be taxpayer-funded boondoggles, and it sure looks like it's going to be that.
They'll create good jobs and grow our economy, providing the resources that we need to take care of ourselves and take care of each other.
Well, we do have that gravel lot with an RV pad on it. Sorry, I mean the spaceport, the $200 million spaceport. So anyway.
And to make sure that all Canadians can share in these benefits, we're creating the Canada Strong Fund, Canada's first sovereign wealth fund.
Now, it's not what you're thinking when you hear sovereign wealth fund, but we'll get to that.
Strong Fund will invest alongside the private sector in nation-building projects to create wealth for Canadians today and our kids tomorrow. And if you have a bit of extra money, we'll make it easy for you to invest in the fund to help build Canada Strong.
So there you go, Canada. If you've still got any extra money left, you might as well just give it to Mark Carney now for the future.
For all. Canadians are choosing to buy Canadian, to explore Canadian, and build Canadian.
Well, except for you, because you still got, 90% of your investments in the States. Family lives in the States. Kids all go to school in the States. So you're not really doing that so much. It's just, you want Canadians to. But all right, let's continue.
Because it's our country, and we're building our future together.
Are we? I'm surprised they didn't have Michael Moore. I'm surprised they didn't have Mike Myers fly up to do an elbows up thing with him. I've got a feeling that those elbows are going to start coming down over the next year or so as things continue to get worse in Canada. He had Mike Myers come down and film himself putting his elbows up, and then, immediately went to the airport and he had his elbows up again because, when he's getting scanned to get onto the first class ticket on the plane back to LA where he lives and where he loves, right? And, Joni Mitchell, again, she thinks the world of Mark Carney, right? Mike Myers thinks the world of Mark Carney. Not enough to move back to Canada. They sure hate Trump, too. Not enough to move back to Canada. I mean, nothing's worth that, right? Nothing's worth that. You can't like Mark Carney enough to move back to Canada. Yeah. All right. In any case, where is this coming from? So people think about, when people hear sovereign wealth fund, they think about Norway's sovereign wealth fund. Officially, the Government Pension Fund Global, or simply the Oil Fund, is the world's largest, managing over $2 trillion in assets as of late 2025. Established in 1990 to manage surplus oil and gas revenues, which, surplus oil and gas revenues. It acts as a long-term financial reserve for future generations. The fund is managed by Norges Bank Investment Management and invests solely outside of Norway to avoid overheating the domestic economy. So, Canada's sovereign wealth fund is not going to be based on surpluses. So that's normally what happens. A country, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Norway, they have surpluses because their country is ably managed fiscally, right? Unlike Canada. So, but if a country does have responsible leadership and responsible fiscal policy, they can take the surplus money from things like oil and gas revenue and create a sovereign wealth fund. So they've got all this extra money sitting around. They think, well, we should invest it and grow it. That's what they do. What Canada has what we're going to have is a sovereign debt fund, because the taxpayers are going to have to put up the $25 billion in seed money. So, and also pay the interest on that, because it's obviously going to have to be borrowed. So already not looking great. And it's also supposed to be invested in Canada which is a really bad idea, right? Let's see. Invest solely outside of Norway to avoid overheating the domestic economy. You go through a recession, all of a sudden that's obviously going to affect your, they're doing it all wrong is what I'm saying. But I've got a feeling that Mark Carney's got some really great ideas on where, on a bunch of net zero projects that this sovereign wealth fund, your $25 billion can go to. But don't worry about that because it's got to be independent, right? Totally independent, for sure. He wouldn't lie to you. He wouldn't mislead you. Here's Franco Terrazzano. Carney did not create a sovereign wealth fund, he says. Let's take a look.
Carney wants you to think he just created a sovereign wealth fund. Carney did not, okay? Carney just created a debt-fueled corporate slush fund. Okay, so here's what's going on. Carney just made an announcement. Canada's first ever sovereign wealth fund. No. Here's what's going on. The government is already more than $1 trillion in debt, and Carney just announced he's going to borrow another $25 billion to dump into this new fund, and then the fund is going to subsidize Canadian companies. That is not a sovereign wealth fund, okay? That is a debt-fueled corporate slush fund that gambles taxpayers' money, your money, on corporate welfare. Okay, the whole point of a gold standard sovereign wealth fund like Norway's is to save money, right? Norway saves its oil revenue into its sovereign wealth fund, and then it invests the interest and only invests that interest in projects abroad, right? To help with diversification, to guard against politicians dumping, wasting money on corporate welfare or their own pet projects. In stark contrast, okay, Carney's corporate slush fund is built on borrowed money, $25 billion of borrowed money, and then is going to subsidize Canadian companies, picking winners and losers in the Canadian marketplace. Again, this is not a sovereign wealth fund, right? The whole point.
Did somebody mention something about Carney's conflicts of interest? Anybody mention something about that? Anybody? Let's see. Maybe I'm just hearing it in my head all the time. Let's see. So this is Franco Terrazzano, Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Let's see. What's going on here? CBC Watcher. So this made it onto, this is at CTV. So this made it onto CTV News. Let's take a look.
All right, let's get back to our top story. Prime Minister Mark Carney announcing his government is going to create what he's calling the Canada Strong Fund. This is a sovereign wealth fund, basically a state-owned investment fund, investing in things like real estate, oil and gas, stocks, you name it. Let's bring in political analyst Lydia Miljan, who's been standing by to weigh in on this, the takeaways, what it means. Lydia, good to see you. What do you make of it?
Nice to see you, Todd. In theory, it's a great idea to, if you look at Norway's sovereign fund, it's an amazing vehicle. What they did in Norway was invest the surplus revenue from their oil and gas industry, and they had really strict controls about how much they could pull out. I think it was like 3% a year, and so they've been able to essentially fund a lot of their social services from that fund because they were really robust in how much they could draw away from it and how much they were required to put in. Canadian examples aren't so good. The closest one I can think of off the top of my head is the Alberta Heritage Fund. It's been criticized for being mismanaged, for the government not reinvesting enough in it, not growing it enough, and sort of pulling out the fund when they wanted to balance their books. And so really the real crux of this is going to be in the details. How are they going to manage the fund? How are they going to invest surplus? I think that, right now they actually do have some surplus from just the tax revenue alone because of the price of gas. So is that what they're planning to do? We don't know. They also had this sort of mushy answer about how there was going to be, you and I, for example, could decide that we would want to invest in it as well. Interesting. So it sounds like they just want to have an equity fund, essentially.
Yeah, basically an initial investment of about $25 billion, as you know. And this idea, the Prime Minister mentioned this, Lydia, you just referenced it, that Canadians could contribute and benefit from the fund alongside even international partners, the private sector, you name it. Just a big pot of money.
Yeah, and we've seen those before. I mean, in theory, CPP is a big pool of money for our pensions. Again, I haven't been especially impressed with my return on investment for my Canada pension plan as opposed to a private pension plans that I hold. So the real issue is how are they going to manifest this? Now, there's a transitional agency that's going to create this. They say it's going to be arm's length. They're going to have a CEO and an independent board of directors. And so we'll have to see how they do it. Now,
my guess is that Carney's going to, that the fund is going to, my guess is that the fund is going to blow a bunch of money subsidizing a bunch of net zero stuff, and Canadians will be left with nothing other than the debt of the $25 billion and all the interest on it. That's my guess.
the other thing to note is that $25 billion is over 3 years. So we don't know how much they're going to, at least today, we don't know how much they're going to invest this year. But over the next 3 years, that's what they plan on investing.
You mentioned Norway, the Saudis, China, and other countries that do have these sorts of sovereign wealth funds. I mean, in some cases, they are worth a ton of money. And it also gives those countries a lot of economic clout and muscle on the world stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's nothing wrong in theory about reinvesting your surpluses. And I think the question that was put to the Prime Minister today is an important one. Where's the money? Where are you finding the money for this? We still have deficits. And even though they're saying the deficits isn't going to be as high as we initially projected, the fact remains we have deficits, not surpluses. So the equivalence would be we're going to be borrowing off the credit cards again to put money in an investment vehicle that we really don't know how it's going to be managed. What is the investment criteria going to be? So there's a lot of unknowns about this. So there is still a risk involved. And we have all sorts of other agencies in this country that are presumably there to fund major projects. And that's the other thing that Carney said, is that this fund is now going to be used not just as an investment vehicle, but as a funding mechanism for these big projects. So I'm not sure how the math works for Mr. Carney. Maybe you need a PhD in economics to understand this one.
Lydia Miljan with her take. Good to
Maybe you need a PhD in economics to understand this one, she says. But Carney, Oxford, Carney. Yeah, credentials. Yeah, I've been predicting since Mark Carney became prime minister. In fact, since the Liberal leadership race, that he was going to max out the national credit card, and it looks like I was right. Michelle Rempel Garner says, to be fair, this headline is wrong. It says here, Carney to announce sovereign wealth fund. It would be a debt fund, not a wealth fund. True sovereign wealth funds like Norway's are built from surpluses. Canada is running massive deficits. This is akin to a man who's in debt, borrowing hundreds of thousands to buy stocks. Yeah. Yeah. But Oxford, but credentials. Let's see, what's going on here? Jason Kenney, former premier of Alberta, says, what is he talking about? Well, let's see. What is he saying here, Mark Carney?
You said the goal of it is to grow wealth. And so I'm wondering to what extent, though, you have already coordinated or consulted with the provinces that really have control over. There is a lot of the oil and gas, for example, generating sectors, and Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland. How can you persuade them it's not ultimately a resource wealth grab?
Well, it's not. There's a series. Sometimes, if I may, the discussion of how we're building the country, how Canadians are building the country, gets reduced to one sector or one type of infrastructure in one sector. There is a very broad range of things that Canadians are doing to grow Canada strong. That involves entirely new ports in the Arctic. It involves a host of critical minerals. It involves data infrastructure and other infrastructure that will be necessary. It involves a series of investments above and beyond the high-speed rail and others. Where there is at the heart of all of these projects, including in resources, provincial jurisdiction, including resources, where the federal government is catalyzing, helping to make the project happen through tax incentive.
You said catalyze, so everybody take a shot.
Incentive, through some other support, regulatory or other support. And at the core, there is a commercial business, a commercial project that is making a profit, it is fair, right, just, smart for Canadians to have a share directly of those profits. And that's what the fund is going to make possible. And this is a great thing for Canadians today and very much tomorrow. Because,
geez, I wonder if this is going to help with that whole losing $1 trillion worth of investment over the last 10 years since the Liberals took over. I wonder, or 11 years, sorry. Wonder if that's going to help. Jason Kenney says, what is he talking about? Resource companies pay tens of billions in taxes, including federal corporate taxes. Those revenues are redistributed to Canadians. Canadians who want to profit more directly from resource companies can buy shares in them and take on both the risk and reward. And I'm guessing they would be much wiser to just do that than giving your money to Mark Carney. And every Canadian who is eligible for the CPP and most other public sector pension schemes already owns shares in resource companies through pension funds. Mark Carney is going to max out the national credit card to fulfill his own goals, not those of Canadians, his. That's what this is about. And what do we have here? Dimitris Soudas. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced today that Canada will get its first ever sovereign wealth fund. But here is the question everyone should be asking. Where does the money come from? Well, let's take a look.
So let me take you behind the curtain and give you a sense of what's going to happen tomorrow. The government's fiscal update will show that the forecasted deficit, which was about $78 billion, will be lower than what they forecasted in the budget that was tabled in November. Remember, they flipped the cycles between budgets and fiscal updates.
Yeah, that's because oil prices are high right now. But also, don't believe the numbers, by the way. I think we've learned that from the Liberal government since 2015, haven't we?
But I guess economists and folks like me who have helped write a budget will look at the following things to see if this lower than projected deficit is real or it was just a horseshoe up somebody's behind. And here's the issue here. If the forecasted lower deficit doesn't come from the government actually showing that they were able to slow and eliminate some expenses, and if this forecasted lower deficit comes from 3 points, i.e. an adjustment, number 2, higher than anticipated revenues, which the government had no direct impact on, for example, oil prices, and number 3, because the government didn't spend all the money that it said it was going to spend, but is planning on spending it anyway, then sorry, I will not be fooled by that.
Yeah, that's enough of that. It's basically the same thing. Hold on, let's hear Pierre Poilievre and see what he thinks. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say he thinks this is a boondoggle. Let's take a look. This was posted by Ryan Garrettson, this clip.
Some of the countries around the world, you will note, have sovereign wealth funds. You need to have wealth for those funds. Norway, Singapore, and Saudi Arabia run big budget surpluses, which they accumulate and then put into their sovereign wealth funds. Carney has no surplus and therefore no wealth to put in such a fund. He's talking about a sovereign debt fund. He wants to put another $25 billion on the national credit card to gamble on a Liberal slush fund that will enrich Liberal insiders at the expense of hardworking Canadians. How many corporate welfare agencies do the Trudeau-Carney Liberals need to create before they learn that it doesn't work? They have the Canada Infrastructure Fund. Remember the Infrastructure Bank? Remember that was going to invest in all these projects? What happened with that? There's a new Defence Industry Bank. There's the Canada Growth Fund and countless other departmental agencies that Liberals have created and grown over the last decade to give us the worst investment and growth in the G7. And here we are. It's deja vu all over again. Borrowing yet another $25 billion out of the economy to subsidize projects that the government still cannot figure out how to approve will only cost hardworking Canadians. Multinational corporations get the profit, taxpayers will get the loss. Let's ask some basic questions. Who will get the money? Small and medium-sized businesses? Of course not. It will be the billionaires and bankers that will go to Mark Carney's elite summit coming up in September. They will again get rich, making everyone else poor. That guarantees small businesses and entrepreneurs get shut out, and politically powerful corporations get carve-outs, handouts, and bailouts. And here's another question. If a project has a business case, why would the government need to fund it? If it doesn't have a business case, why would the government want to fund it? And why can't projects get funding now? Is it because investment doesn't exist? Of course not. There's $1 trillion of investment from Canada now invested outside of Canada, according to Royal Bank. In fact, Statistics Canada reported in Q3 of last year that trusteed Canadian pension funds held $1.33 trillion in foreign assets. That is, a majority of Canadian pension funds are now invested outside of Canada. There are more Canadians opening businesses out of Canada than in Canada. The investment exists. It comes from our country. It just can't get a return in our country. Putting another $25 billion on the national credit card to pad a Liberal slush fund will not change that. What we need is for the Liberal government to get out of the way. Get out of the way and repeal the anti-resource law, C-69. Get out of the way and repeal the ban on shipping oil off the BC coast. Get out of the way and scrap the industrial Liberal carbon tax. Get out of the way and approve a pipeline to the Pacific by this summer. Get out of the way and unlock and unblock our economy. That is how we will make Canada the richest, most affordable country anywhere on earth. That is how we will make Canada affordable at home, safe at home, and strong at home. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main question, right? Why don't they just get out of the way? Remove the roadblocks. Like, oil companies want to make money. Energy companies want to make money, right? Why aren't they racing in to make money, right? Well, it's all the roadblocks. It's all of the Liberal legislation, right? All the regulation. That's why, get rid of that. If you want investment, get rid of that stuff. We have stuff that people want to invest in, right? We're very natural resource rich in Canada. It shouldn't be a problem. It's insane that it is. But why not just do that? Well, problem is, if you do that, then Carney can't funnel a bunch of taxpayer subsidies into a bunch of net zero companies, you know, which is, I mean, look, Brookfield, he had the ESG fund, right? He had the net zero fund at Brookfield. I mean, how can anybody not see what's going on here? I have no idea. I mean, this guy was the UN Global Climate Finance Envoy. How can anybody not see what's going on here? Let's see.
Some.
All right, what else do we got? Let's see. Oh, yeah, Mark McQueen. 9 years ago, Justin Trudeau launched the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. It was tasked with financially supporting revenue-generating infrastructure projects that are in the public interest by catalyzing private investment. Catalyzing private investment. So even back then, they were using catalyzing. I mean, how do you know that Mark Carney was actually giving Justin Trudeau all of his ideas all along? That's a clue right there. Catalyzing. Do we have something on that? Let's see. Hold on. Canada Infrastructure Bank has faced intense criticism and accusations of failure due to slow project completion, low private sector investment, and high administrative costs since its 2017 inception. This is just another one of these, right? This sovereign wealth fund is just another one of these boondoggles. And high administrative costs, of course, because Liberal cronies need to make a lot of money, and high administrative costs since its 2017 inception. Critics cite stalled projects such as the Lake Erie Connector project as evidence that the $35 billion bank has failed to meet its goal of bridging public-private investment. Yeah, go ahead, give your money to Mark Carney's sovereign wealth fund. I dare you. Low project completion. Within its first 5-6 years, the CIB has struggled to move projects from commitment to construction, with critics highlighting a lack of completed projects and substantial delay in projects' failed investment ratios. The bank originally aimed to attract up to $5 of private investment for every $1 of public money. But reports indicate it has attracted less than $1 of private investment for each public dollar. High costs, slow paces, political interference. That's interesting. I wonder if there'll be any of that from the Liberal Party. Concerns have been raised by some that the bank's investment choices are influenced by political rather than financial or technical criteria. I wonder if they'll be investing in that high-speed rail from Toronto to Quebec City. It goes through all those liberal ridings. I wonder. Let's see. What do we got here? Jack Mintz, not another liberal slush fund from the Financial Post. Rather than pay down the federal government's debt, Prime Minister Carney has announced a $25 billion sovereign wealth fund. Let's make this a little bigger. Oh, hold on. The Canada Strong Fund, which will join with private interests to invest in nation-building projects. It could grow even larger by selling a retail investment product to any Canadian who, for some reason, want to hold shares in its politically directed projects like high-speed rail, mining critical minerals, and expanding the port of Churchill. Governments and private investors usually make strange bedfellows. Governments pursue political objectives that compromise the profitability investors want. To assuage investor concerns, subsidies boost the return to nation building of the sort promised in last fall's budget. Big losers are taxpayers. This is all just a giant boondoggle. A ginormous waste of everything. What do we have here? Mark Carney suggested the plan draws inspiration from Norway's fund, which at $1.7 trillion in assets is the largest in the world and focuses on international investments, and this is nothing like that. In fact, it seems like it's kind of guaranteed to fail. The Canadian fund is linked to what the government describes as nation-building efforts, including ports and natural resources projects. Mr. Carney said it is aimed at domestic investments, but he pointed out that other countries with similar funds also began with domestic focus and then broadened their scope, but I don't. There's not going to be any money left to do that. That's the problem. Let's see. Lucy Hargreaves, CEO of Build Canada, says the Canada Strong Fund is a sovereign wealth fund in name only. What was announced today is closer to a war bond. With Canadians buying equity in projects the government is already trying to get off the ground. Yeah, so it's another boondoggle, another liberal boondoggle. So all I can say is do not give your money. All I can say is do not give your money to Mark Carney. Whatever you do. All right. Invest in like magic beans or something instead. All right, let's go back to the chat. That was a long bit there. That took a while, but it had to. Let's see. All right, what are you guys saying? Let's see. U.S. says Leering centers, we have spaceports. Let's see. There's not even a sign, like a spaceport sign at the gravel lot, which is our spaceport. Let's see. Izzy says, extra money, what's that? Yeah, exactly. Nevada says, someone should make recordings of him speaking and sell them as sleep aids. Sleep aids. But if you listen to him while you fall asleep, you might get sleep aids, though. That's the problem. Yeah. Let's see. Trudeau's Forever says, in August 2025, Carney announced the Major Projects Office to expedite nation-building projects of strategic importance. Apparently, that wasn't enough. Carney also needs a crony slush wealth fund. Yeah, you'd have to be crazy to give your money to that. Let's see. As he says, don't forget the suckers that invest alongside will lose everything. I wonder if that'll bring their elbows up. Let's see. As he says, just a way for Carney to steal more money. I think you're right. Let's see. All right, I'm going to skip down here a little bit. Let's see. Rose says boondoggle sounds like a grift. Well, you know, either way, Canadians will lose. All right, what do we got next? Where are we at? What's this one? All right, I want to show you this. This is fun. And then I think we're done with the Canadian news. Get to the last tab of the evening. This was posted by Canada Proud. And this was April 27th, 2026. And here is Pierre Poilievre. So I guess the Liberals think they are going to really burn Pierre Poilievre here. I guess the Liberals. So here in Parliament, I guess the Liberals, I think they're going to really get Pierre Poilievre here. They're really going to burn him. This is a sick burn. Let's see how it turns out.
Prime Minister can't answer questions in the House of Commons because he's been wrong on every single major economic issue of our time. And the results are what Canadians are paying for now. More costs, more debt, more taxes, more of the same. In fact, this Prime Minister has given Canada the worst food inflation in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, the second highest unemployment in the G7. And tomorrow, he intends to put it all on the national credit card. Trudeau had a $31 billion deficit left over for this year. Will he break through that limit and put that on the national credit card as well?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, inflation has been in the Bank of Canada's target zone and has been for some time, but we are continuously intrigued by this notion about inflationary spending. So we just want to ask and have him answer with absolute clarity, the Leader of the Opposition. Is it the Canada Child Benefit that is inflationary? Is it the Canada Disability Benefit? Is it the Canadian Dental Care Plan? Is it the Groceries and Essentials Benefit? Is it old age security? Exactly what is inflationary spending?
Well, it's the, for one thing, like, he talks about like the checks they're sending out because groceries are so unaffordable because the Liberals have been in power since 2015. When you have to borrow money to pay for stuff, that is inflationary, right? It's part of the death spiral that we're in. But anyway, let's see what Pierre has to say about it.
In the eyes of the Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, I'm glad he asked because I got some direct answers. This is how you answer a question. What is inflationary spending? $90 billion for the wasteful Alto project. $1 billion for a gun grab that the public safety minister admits will not stop crime. $20 billion, that's double, for consultants. 7% increase in the spending on the national bureaucracy. Over $1 billion in handouts to fake and phony refugees. A 100% increase in spending on corporate welfare. It's all inflationary spending. Will they stop putting it on the national credit card and get rid of it instead?
Spoiler alert, no, they won't. No, they won't. But you know what? We better check. We better check. We better do a quick fact check. We better do a quick fact check here.
Fact check.
So what do we have first? Let's see. 90 billion Alto rail. Yeah. High-speed rail between, Toronto and Quebec City. And just full of Liberal votes all along the way. Yeah, so that one checks out. By the way, no, like 90, what percent? 95%, 98% of Canadians will never use this, by the way. And probably 98% of Canadians right now couldn't afford to use it anyway. And if it ever actually gets built, right? Well, let's continue. Let's see. Ottawa's gun buyback program will cost billions and for no good reason. That's from December 2nd, 2025. Hasn't gotten any better. There are provinces that have just completely opted out. There's lots of police departments that say they won't enforce it. So yeah, checks out too. Let's see. What's the next one? Let's see, record outsourcing spending. So we mentioned something about $20 billion on consultants. The federal government spent over $19 billion, I guess we'll round it up to 20, on external, professional, and special services in the 24-25 fiscal year, which includes consultants, contractors, and other services. I'm sure it's going to be higher this year. Where was it? What was he saying next? Let's see. So actually, the cost of the federal bureaucracy, it's actually a lot worse than 7%. If you go back 10 years, it's actually up 80%. So I guess, 7% since Carney got in, but 80% in 10 years. Yeah, that's the Liberal Party for you. The PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, who Carney fired, by the way, unsurprisingly, let's see. The PBO released its personnel expenditure analysis today. The federal bureaucracy cost taxpayers $74.1 billion in 24-25, according to the PBO. The bureaucracy cost taxpayers $39.6 billion in 2015-2016. That means the cost of the federal bureaucracy increased 80% in 10 years. 80%. So it's even worse than Pierre said there. So what do we have next here? Let's see. Oh yeah, Canadians now spending $1 billion per year to cover healthcare costs of refugee claimants. He was right about that too. Wow, $1 billion a year to cover the costs of refugee claimants. So people who are not real refugees. So instead of sending them back, the Carney government keeps them here and then gives them actual medical benefits that normal Canadian citizens don't get for free. So yeah, so everything that he said is correct. You're not going to hear that on the CBC. That's definitely not coming up on the screen of Rosemary Barton's teleprompter or any of the teleprompters on CBC or Global or CTV. But all true, all checks out. And just think, this guy could have been our prime minister instead of Canadian Montgomery Burns from The Simpsons. Sorry, I forgot the George Clooney of finance. They actually say that. Let's see. If George Clooney was like a mummified monkey. Sure. All right. So that's it. Let's see. Let's go back to the chat for a minute, and then we will go to the last tab of the evening. We're 2 hours in already. Wow, I thought it was going to be a short one. Let's see. Let's see. JJ says soccer is gay. He says, wish I was an illegal immigrant. Well, you'd probably be wealthier, quite frankly, with better health care. You definitely would have better health care. Nevada says, under Biden, illegals were getting way more help than Americans. Well, it is amazing, isn't it? Like, so many things they're just right across the Western world. I mean, it doesn't seem like it can't be a coincidence, right? It cannot be. Look at the UK, it's the same thing. Sure, it's the same in Australia. Like, it's not a coincidence. The exact same things are happening in all of these Western countries. I mean, immigration, it may happen in different forms. It may be, illegal immigration primarily in the United States, although the United States still has very high, it's 1 million legal immigrants a year or more. In Canada, it's legal immigration, right? And even when we find out that they lied to us and they're not real refugees, or they lied in their documents or whatever, they just get to stay anyway. It's the same right across the Western world, all through Europe as well. Hold on a second. We've got a link here. Hold on. I'm going to check it out. Hold on. I am just going to screen it first. Hold on. But let's do a link monkey thing. So we got a link in there. Let's take a look. All right. And let's see. Let's see what we've got. What is this? All right, hold on.
Oh, shit, that's a Mac. Face. Oh, big face.
What the heck is that? I don't think that's No, that's not what it's supposed to be. All right. So no, it was something else. I don't know what the heck that was. And maybe the wrong link. Let's see. All right, let's get to the last tab of the evening, shall we? So what the hell's going on here? Dr. Deborah Fauci. First, Angelina Jolie showed up looking like the ghost of her former self, and now Olivia Wilde looks like she has been overdoing the GLP-1s. Is that the Ozempic? I think it is. What is happening to these actresses? So first I thought that...
When I read the script, it was already set in San Francisco, and Rashida Jones and Will McCormick had made that decision.
See, at first I thought, man, Keith Richards looks bad. But apparently this is Olivia Wilde, the actress. And yikes, what is going on there? Let's go and take a look at what she looks like. Well, what she used to look like. Olivia Wilde. Here. So this is what she's, always looked like, which is fairly normal. She's 42. So I wonder if she's, having a midlife crisis, worried about her looks, and she thinks that looks better. I don't know. Something's going on, though. There's a lot of actresses are like looking really weird. Is that really Angelina Jolie? Yikes. Again, it looked like mummified Michael Jackson when I first saw it. You can see the nose there and everything. Her skin just looks like plastic. It's weird. We got to check that out as well. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Angelina Jolie. Let's take a look. Okay, so that's what she's kind of supposed to look like here. That's what she's supposed to look like, what she used to look like. Is there anything down here about her looking really weird? So I don't know. Is that a real picture of her? I don't know. There's nothing really. You'd think it would trend pretty high if that was like how she looks all the time. Hold on. Let's say plastic surgery. Plastic surgery. Take a look. I don't know. She looks pretty healthy. Oh, wait a second. What the heck is that? No, that's not her. That's somebody else. But there's a resemblance. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like a doctored image or something. All right. Maybe not, though. I don't know. Is that even her, though? I don't know. I don't think that's correct. Anybody saying anything underneath? Someone destroyed the portraits in their attics. A little Dorian Gray joke there. Let's see. Dan Bongino tells Sean Hannity he will never be the same again after serving as FBI deputy director. This clip was posted by Overton here. So talking with Sean Hannity, and I can believe it. He could just be talking about just national security threats that are unbelievable, horrifying, with this kind of technology explosion that we have now. What kind of horrors are people cooking up in their basements? Who knows? Let's take a look.
But listen, I will never be the same, and I'm being as serious as a stroke right now. Look, I'm scared, man. Like I know what I did, and I'm proud of my work, and I'm proud of what me and Cash accomplished in the past year. Beyond proud. I know what we did. I know what's coming. I know what I started. I know what I laid out. And I know it's all, you saw a lot of these cases coming out over the past few days even. But don't think for a second that I don't think every day, and this is what's really sad, and this is why I know, and I never thought this after reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me. And listen, man, it's not a sob story. I knew what I was getting into. But it happened to the president, and he went through just the worst, just destruction of his civil liberties I've ever seen. But I say to my wife all the time, I know, Sean, I can look you in the face as a friend, tell you and your millions of viewers and listeners, I promise you everything I did with a dotted I and a crossed T. I brought in my own attorney from the outside, person I trusted, a wonderful, wonderful person. I said, no, everything is going to be by the book. Everything. I'm confident in that. And you know what? It don't matter. They'll rewrite the book, just like they did for President Trump. And I said to my wife, I said, I got a 14-year-old. The presidency could change. I hope it doesn't in a little over 2 years. You don't think on election night, if we lose, like it's not going through my head, like they're going to send some thugs to my house? I was never the same after that, because after reading what I read about how many people did this to President Trump, this Russia hoax, collusion, crossfire hurricane bullshit, and not a single person stopped them, I'm terrified that they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge.
So it sounds like, for one, the deep state is alive and well and angry. And the Democrat Party is even more corrupt than he thought when he went in. And yeah, there's a lot of speculation about, if the Democrats get back in, they're going to seal it up permanently, right? Like they're going to go hard. They're going to do all the things that the Republicans are too afraid to do. And that'll just be it. Just let in another 20 million people, naturalize them all, naturalize everybody in the country that's not a citizen, and get them voting. Just turn it into a one-party state. Rig everything. Just make, the elections 100% mail-in ballots. I mean, not even being facetious. So he's afraid. He's afraid of them coming after him. And he says he brought in his own lawyer. It doesn't even matter. He did it by the book. They'll rewrite the book or throw the book away or burn the book. So it's pretty scary, isn't it? It's pretty scary. But it seems like, Biden was so bad. For guys, they turned the FBI. They had the FBI monitoring parent-teacher meetings in case teachers said that they weren't comfortable with all of the gender stuff. Aside from, like just hunting down like grannies, who had a picture of themselves taken with a little American flag on January 6th. Again, going after Trump, all the ridiculous lawsuits against Trump, the insane lawsuits against Trump. And pretty much everybody had ever known. His lawyers, everybody who ever shook hands with Trump, they went after. So, yeah, I think he's right to be afraid. I think people are right to fear that, when the Democrats get back in, they're not going to play nice. Let's see. They're going to want to lock it down. Declaration of memes. Women have no idea about some of the struggles dudes face. Well, let's take a look.
Let's see how good your etiquette is. This one's a no-brainer. I'd definitely go all the way to the right. You want to space yourself as much as you can. Here, I'd probably go to the same thing, because anything else and you're kind of too close to people, you definitely don't want those two in the middle, because then you're like stacked between people.
Is this a thing?
This one's a no-brainer. You want to go directly in the middle. Otherwise, you're shoulder to shoulder with somebody, which is super weird. This is a lose-lose, honestly, all around, but I think you just have to take one of the edges. I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah, either edge on either side is the no-brainer. Well, this one.
What?
I think you go middle here, because if you go to the left, you're going to be next to two people on your left, whereas if you're on the middle one, you only have one person directly to your right. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
These are things you guys have to think about when you go to the urinal. This is a dilemma? This is a daily dilemma for you guys?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's see. What's going on here? I don't know if I want to do that one tonight. Let's see. How about this? Edu, the curious case of Ellis Pinsky. Stole $24 million in crypto by doing a SIM swap He was only 15 years old, spent the money on watches, clubs, and prostitutes, used his real name to withdraw the funds on Coinbase. FBI tracks the account, shows up right at his door. They discover he's a minor. They can't press criminal charges against him. He gets away without going to prison. Today, he's studying philosophy at New York University. There's a lesson in there. I guess it has to be B. Ellis Pinsky. I guess. What else could the lesson be? Right? There's definitely incentives there. I hope he had fun. I'm sure he had a lot of fun. Let's see. Maybe we'll save that one for let's see. Wall Street Ape says Americans believe technology like this is why they really got rid of lead paint in our homes. Well, I think it was the babies, the kids eating the lead paint thing that's with the brain and everything, the brain problems. The PX1 from Viteray Technologies is a portable backscatter X-ray imager. You can see items behind a wall very clearly, and I'll probably give everybody behind the wall cancer, I'm guessing too. Let's take a look. I mean, it is cool technology. Look at that. I mean, unless it's, like, I don't know, they just rigged it so they could play a video on there and that they filmed earlier. I don't know. I believe it. Sure, why not? It's cool. It's definitely cool. Look at this. When your grandma loves to crochet, but is also cool. Look at that alien. Look at that adorable little alien there. That is pretty awesome. I like it. I approve. Approved. Authorized. Let's see. Okay, that's the cutest little thing I've seen all year. A baby armadillo chasing an apple. Well, good Lord. This is what we call a palate cleanser. That's pretty darling, as they say. I'm not even going to check if it's AI. I'll just believe it's real. All right, we already covered that. This one, you know what? I forgot to turn off the YouTube part of the stream. That's going to get copyrighted for sure. What happened here? Do you know what? Just for this last little bit, I do want to show it, but I can't show it on the YouTube part. In fact, I probably already got like 2 copyright strikes already. So we'll watch this last bit, which is only going to be like the last, 15 minutes or something, over on Rumble, but we're going to shut off the YouTube portion of the stream right now, and we'll be back, though, on YouTube on Friday, 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. So anybody who's over on YouTube right now, if you want to catch the end of the show, join us over on Rumble. Otherwise, I'll see you on Friday night. Good night, you guys. Thanks for showing up.